For Christmas that year, my wife, Clara, gave me a single red rose. Just a few weeks later, when her new assistant's birthday came around, she presented him with a luxury-branded watch that cost a small fortune. I had been unsubtly mentioning that very watch for months, hoping she'd take the hint. When I eventually found out and questioned her about it, she waved it off. "Don't make such a fuss," she'd said. "You have everything you could ever want. He grew up with nothing. All he wants is a nice watch to feel good about himself." Hearing that, I realized that if that was her logic, then perhaps I didn't want a wife like this either. It all started when I accidentally saw the watch sitting in the online shopping cart on her tablet. Our 7-year anniversary was only a few days away, and my heart swelled with excitement. I had pointed out that specific timepiece to Clara before, remarking on its classic design, so I was thrilled that she had remembered, but when our anniversary arrived, the day passed in a quiet stillness. All day, there was nothing. Even as we prepared for bed, Clara showed no sign that she remembered the significance of the date. She stepped out of the bathroom, a towel wrapped around her frame, her figure as beautiful as the day I first met her. A single droplet of water traced a path from her wet hair down her chest, and I was once again struck by how stunning my wife was. Trying to prompt her, I casually mentioned, "So, it's January." While toweling her hair dry, Clara smiled and replied, "Yeah, another month has just flown by." I couldn't restrain myself any longer. "Do you remember what happened 7 years ago today? It was the day we first met." Clara walked over to me, her eyes filled with the affection I knew so well, and I thought the dark and windy night outside was creating the perfect atmosphere for a romantic moment. I leaned in, expecting a kiss, but instead she just patted my head gently. "Oh, that's right. Time really does fly. 7 years already," she said. "It's getting late, and we both have to be at work early tomorrow. Let's get some sleep." Her words felt like a bucket of ice water being dumped over my head. Still, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Christmas was just around the corner, I told myself. She was probably saving the big gift for then. But just a few days after that thought, I saw her new colleague wearing the exact watch I had been dreaming of. The brilliant sparkle from its face under the office lights nearly blinded me. I had been running an errand that day, and since it was approaching lunchtime, I thought I would surprise Clara at her office. As I rounded a corner near the restrooms, I bumped squarely into a young man, sending a stack of papers flying from his hands. "Oh, I'm so sorry," I said, immediately bending down to help him gather them. When I looked up to hand them back, I was taken aback. He was unfamiliar, likely a new hire, as I hadn't visited Clara's office in quite some time. But the watch on his wrist was an identical match to the one I'd seen in Clara's shopping cart. It had to be a coincidence, I thought. Clara appeared in her office doorway, frowning at the young man. "Why are you so clumsy, Evan?" The boy, whose name I now knew, looked flustered. "Sorry, boss." Clara hurried over to me, her expression shifting to one of deep concern as she helped me up. "Did you get hurt?" she asked, her eyes scanning me for any injuries. "No, I'm fine. I just bumped into him." She took my arm. "Let me check you over in my office. After that, we can go grab some lunch." She pulled me toward her office without giving Evan another look. Maybe I was just overthinking things. Everyone I knew considered Clara to be the perfect wife. She was beautiful, incredibly successful, and always so good to me. My friends often joked that I must have saved the entire galaxy in a past life to have ended up with her. Later, some of my old colleagues filled me in on the office gossip about Evan, the new guy. He was Clara's new assistant, temporarily covering for another assistant who was on maternity leave. He was still in his senior year of college, working as an intern for a little over 2 months. They told me he came from a complicated background. "Don't let his quiet demeanor fool you," one of them had warned. "Did you see that watch he wears? It's worth hundreds of thousands. I hear his girlfriend is incredibly wealthy. I saw her drop him off in a flashy sports car one morning." The news that Evan had a girlfriend brought me a small sense of relief. After all, luxury brands only have so many classic designs. It was entirely possible for two people to own the same one. I told myself to wait a little longer. Maybe Clara was saving my gift for Christmas, especially since I'd hinted about it so many times. On Christmas Day, Clara took me out for a nice dinner. Her gift to me was a single, long-stemmed red rose. I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of disappointment. She had always given me a supplementary credit card, telling me to buy whatever I liked, but this felt different, impersonal. Throughout our meal, her phone buzzed incessantly. After checking it one time, her expression grew serious. "Leo, something's come up at work that I need to handle immediately." And with that, our romantic Christmas dinner came to an abrupt end. She dropped me off at home, and before I could even tell her to be careful, she had sped off into the night. She returned very late, so late that I had already tossed and turned for hours in our empty bed before finally drifting into an uneasy sleep. I told myself her job was demanding. The next day, she promised we would have a proper celebration to make up for it. "I'll take you to your favorite Japanese restaurant, and then we'll go shopping for anything you want," she said, her voice filled with its usual tender affection. Looking at her, her eyes seemed as sincere as they had always been. There was nothing different about her. But as soon as I got into her car, a faint, almost imperceptible scent of perfume caught my attention. I've always been highly sensitive to smells, and I was certain I recognized this one from the day I bumped into Evan. The doubts I had worked so hard to suppress began to creep back into my mind. I knew I shouldn't doubt her, not after all the years we had spent together and everything we had been through. But that night I couldn't sleep. The uncertainty felt like a thorn lodged in my heart, pricking me with every breath. When Clara was sound asleep, I quietly took her phone and went into the bathroom. I knew it was wrong to snoop, but I had to know. My hands trembled as I unlocked the screen. The watch was no longer in her shopping cart. My chest tightened. I quickly checked her order history, but there was no record of the purchase. I let out a small sigh of relief. I searched further, but there were no hidden accounts or suspicious messages. Even her chat logs with Evan were completely professional, just ordinary work-related conversations. Then, I opened his Instagram profile. On Christmas Day, he had posted a blurry photo of a silhouette with the caption, "Silent company is also happiness." A few days earlier, there was a selfie where he was flaunting the watch, a wide grin on his face. The caption read, "Thank you for making me feel worthy of better things," followed by a heart emoji. It all felt far too coincidental. I pulled out my own phone, remembering I had added his contact information before, and looked him up on Instagram, but his profile appeared completely empty to me. Then, a thought struck me. I went back to Clara's phone and checked her payment records. When I found the transaction, my blood ran cold. Clara was my first love. She was the daughter of my college math professor, Professor Davis. Back in college, my professor would often invite a few of us students over to her house for dinner. One afternoon, while we were all there, she called me into her study to fetch a book. When I opened the door, I was startled to see a woman lying on the guest bed. It turned out to be her daughter Clara, who was taking a nap. She had just returned from Australia after completing her master's degree and working there for a year, with the intention of settling back home. Later, Clara joked with me about it. "You see," she said, "my mom treats her students better than she treats me. When I'm not here, she turns my old room into a study space for you all." I felt a bit guilty hearing that. The professor overheard and added, "You haven't been home for years. It's a waste to keep the room empty. Besides, you've already rented your own apartment, so why should I keep it for you?" During that period, I was preparing for a major math competition, so I visited the professor's house more frequently. Consequently, I saw Clara quite often. After every dinner, the professor would ask Clara to walk me to the gate of their community. After a few times, it started to feel a little awkward. "Clara, you really don't have to walk me out every time," I said one evening. "I can get back on my own." She looked at me with a playful glint in her eye. "Can't you tell I'm trying to win you over?" I was stunned. I had sensed that Clara treated me a bit differently from the other students, that she seemed to pay more attention to me. Sometimes, when I was struggling with a difficult problem, she would join our study group and offer her own elegant solutions. At meals, it felt like she already knew my favorite dishes, always making sure they were placed close to me. I had dismissed these as my own wishful thinking, as nothing more ever seemed to come of it. I hadn't dated much before, so I quickly brushed the thought aside. Then she said, "So, Leo, can I officially have the honor of being your partner?" And just like that, we were together. Once we started dating, I was thrilled to discover how much we had in common. We could talk for hours about anything and everything. I was an only child from a family that owned a small business. My home life was harmonious, and my parents were incredibly doting. Clara's father had passed away when she was young, but her mother, the professor, was a wise and kind woman who had raised Clara exceptionally well. We were a good match, both in our backgrounds and our shared interests. Our relationship progressed without any major hurdles, and the transition from dating to marriage felt smooth and natural. When our families met to discuss the wedding, everything was settled over a single, pleasant meal. There was no stress at all. Clara was 4 years older than me and always took care of me, and I admit I was a bit spoiled by her affection. At dinner, she would always peel crabs for me so I could focus on eating. My mother used to tease her. "This boy will never grow up if you keep spoiling him like this." The professor would just laugh and say, "Leo is my pride and joy. He's so polite and mature. Thank you for raising such a wonderful son. Clara, if you ever mistreat him, I'll be the first one to scold you." Clara held my hand and looked at my parents earnestly. "Uncle, Aunt, please don't worry. I will never let him suffer." It felt like only yesterday that she had made that promise to love and care for me forever. And now there was Christmas, the expensive gift for someone else, and the strange perfume in her car. Statistically speaking, there was a high probability that Clara's heart had changed. A painful knot formed in my chest, and tears welled up in my eyes. I am not the type of person to overlook infidelity. If she had truly fallen for someone else, I would rather end things than hold on to a love that had been tainted. I decided that I needed to have a frank conversation with her. When I arrived at her office that day, it was lunchtime, and the floor was quiet. I walked directly to her office, the door of which was slightly ajar. Even though I thought I had mentally prepared myself, the scene that greeted me filled me with rage and embarrassment. Clara and Evan were eating together, sitting so close their shoulders were almost touching. Evan was holding a spoon, feeding a bite of food to Clara, who accepted it nonchalantly. They exchanged a smile, and the air between them was thick with an intimacy that was impossible to mistake. "Am I interrupting something?" I said from the doorway. They both looked up, and Clara's eyes widened with shock and panic. She quickly regained her composure and forced a smile. "Leo, what brings you here? Have you eaten yet? Do you want to join us?" My voice was dripping with sarcasm as I replied, "If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have been able to catch this little show." Clara's expression hardened into a frown. She turned to Evan and said gently, "Can you give us a moment?" I shook off her hand when she tried to touch me. "What else is there to say?" I asked angrily. "It's not what it looks like, Leo. Let me explain," she pleaded. "I was too busy to eat while reviewing some reports, and since Evan is my assistant, he was feeding me so I could keep working. I know it looks inappropriate, and I'll be more careful. How about I relocate him to another department and get a different assistant?" I stared at her coldly. "Do you still think I'm a fool? On Christmas, you rushed out of our dinner to meet him, didn't you?" Clara rubbed her forehead. "That really was a work-related emergency. It got late, and I didn't think it was safe for him to go home alone, so I gave him a ride." I pulled out my phone. "Then what about these vague Instagram messages, visible only to you? And the watch you bought? Why is he wearing it? Don't tell me you're just colleagues." I showed her the screenshot of her payment record. "You went through my phone?" she asked, sighing with a sense of helpless frustration. He helped the company secure a very big deal shortly after he joined. The watch was a reward. When I saw how much he liked it, I impulsively told him I'd give it to him. My anger flared even hotter. I liked it too. So he means more to you than your own husband? Stop making excuses, Clara. If your heart has changed, just admit it. Don't be so difficult, Leo, she said, her voice strained. You have everything, and all he wants is a branded watch. I can find another one for you if you want. Her words struck me like a physical blow. I want a divorce, right now. Let's go do it. I was trembling with rage. Other than what you saw, there is nothing going on between us. I haven't cheated or done anything to betray you. Evan comes from a very poor background, born in a remote mountain village. He's the only one from his town to ever go to college. I just admire his drive and vitality. Her words made it hard to breathe. Clara used to say she loved me for my intelligence and my independence. Now she was using those same words to describe someone else. But there's really nothing between us. It's my fault, and I apologize, Leo. How could she say such shameless things? I was so infuriated I started to laugh. Clara, when I walked in, you instinctively shielded him like he was something precious. You watched him leave with such concern in your eyes, not even looking back at me until he was gone. Were you afraid I was going to hurt him? We've been together for 7 years. I know what you look like when you're interested in someone. So, emotional cheating doesn't count as cheating. Does that mean I have to catch you in the act for it to be real? Do I have to wait until you've trampled my dignity completely into the ground, Clara? Panicked, she finally rushed over and hugged me tightly as I started to cry. No, maybe I just felt a little sorry for him. But I know that it's you I love. I already let him go. Can it just be the two of us again, please? I pushed her away and slapped her across the face. Clara, you're an idiot. I don't even remember how I got home that day. I felt like a zombie, just dragging my body back to our apartment and collapsing onto the bed. Worried I might do something rash, Clara had followed me all the way. I spent the entire day in that room, refusing to eat or drink anything. I didn't touch the food she left by the door. The next morning, I finally opened the bedroom door. Clara, who had clearly been sleeping on the couch, jumped to her feet. She looked completely worn out, her lips pale and chapped. Please, Leo, just eat something, okay? She begged, her voice hoarse. I made your favorite oyster and shrimp congee. Seeing you like this is worse than death for me. Yell at me, hit me. Just tell me what I need to do for you to feel better. I sat down at the table and mechanically drank a bowl of the congee. Seeing the hopeful, pleading look in her eyes, I looked up and said flatly, I don't want anything from you except a divorce. When are we going to do it? Let's get it over with as soon as possible. I'll stay at my parents' place for now. The light in Clara's eyes gradually dimmed. You can go stay with your parents for a few days, she said quietly. Whenever you want to come back, I'll be here to pick you up. Her hand paused on the doorknob as she was about to leave. I'm serious, I said. She finally bolted out the door. I informed both of our families about the divorce. My father was furious and wanted to confront Clara immediately, but my mother held him back. My mother-in-law sighed deeply over the phone. This is so frustrating. But Leo, are you really sure you won't give her another chance? I shook my head, my resolve firm. I stayed at my parents' house, and Clara kept trying to reach me, begging and apologizing. She even stood outside in the pouring rain waiting for me, but I refused to see her. She sent countless messages and made dozens of calls, but I only replied once. I'm only willing to talk about the divorce, nothing else. Dragging things out wasn't a solution. However, every time I sent her divorce papers, they seemed to disappear into thin air. When I tried to arrange a face-to-face meeting to discuss it, she started avoiding me. She even enlisted relatives, friends, and old classmates to take turns trying to convince me to reconsider. Everyone knew how much Clara had doted on me over the years, and now they all seemed to think I should just let this one incident go. They began to see me as the unreasonable one. Even my own mother eventually said, "Maybe you should just give her one more chance." While things were at a stalemate, I received a call from Mark, an old colleague from Clara's company. "Leo," he asked cautiously, "I haven't seen you around the office lately. What's going on between you and Clara?" I had helped out at her company for a short time after grad school, and Mark and I had become good friends. I had even helped him out of a tough situation once. He hesitated before continuing. "There's something you should probably know. Clara told HR to fire Evan. He went to her office to confront her about it, but she wouldn't see him. Eventually he left, his eyes were all red, and he looked completely defeated. While everyone was gossiping about why he was suddenly fired, a new client came in and mentioned there had been an accident right outside our building. A car hit a young guy. She said it was scary and she couldn't watch. Anyway, she said, 'I have an appointment with your boss. Is she around?' When Clara heard the client mention the accident, she turned pale and rushed right past her, sprinting downstairs. I couldn't fully focus on what Mark was saying, because at that moment a video popped up on my tablet. In the footage, Clara was dashing to the scene of the accident, pushing through the crowd. 'Clara, were you looking for me?' She turned to see Evan standing not too far away. 'I'm okay. I just got pushed over in the commotion, and my things scattered everywhere.' He was on the ground, picking up his belongings. Clara barked at him. 'You're as clumsy as ever. Can't you even watch where you're going?' Evan's eyes were watery, but his voice was defiant. 'Like you care. You already fired me. I'm not your responsibility anymore.' As he spoke, he staggered as if he was hurt. 'Where did you get hurt?' Clara asked, her voice softening with worry as she moved closer. 'My ankle,' he mumbled. 'Don't move. I'll take you to the hospital.' She then helped him up. A wave of disappointment washed over me. What had I been hoping for? Lost in thought, I missed a step while walking down the stairs in my parents' house. A sharp, searing pain shot through my stomach, and as I lay there, on the verge of losing consciousness, I thought about the tangled years I had spent with Clara. I debated giving her one more chance. Our relationship, 7 years in the making, felt like a part of me, too deeply rooted to simply cut away. On instinct, with my fading consciousness, I dialed her number. The seconds stretched on. She didn't answer. I called again. 'Clara, pick up. I have something to ask you.' Again, nothing. And then everything went dark. 'Clara, we're done.' I think I dreamed a lot. In my dreams, I became obsessive and frantic, constantly arguing with her. I lost count of the times we hurled the worst possible insults at each other and broke anything we could get our hands on. 'Clara, if you walk out that door, I swear I'll die right here,' I'd scream. 'Leo, how many times have you said that? What's the point?' she would reply, looking back at me coldly before slamming the door. But then, suddenly, she was young again. She pulled a bracelet from behind her back. 'I saw this in a little shop in Italy, and thought you'd like it,' she said, smiling. She had spent every penny she had on it for me. 'It's beautiful, but it must have been so expensive. Stop spending money on me like this.' 'My Leo deserves the best in the world,' she'd insist. Whenever we fought, she would always come around soon after. 'Being angry isn't good for you. How could I let you go to sleep upset? I promised you would always be happy. If you're sad, it's all my fault.' Then the scene shifted, and we were watching the northern lights. 'We'll always be together under the aurora,' we promised each other. I thought we would last forever, but our forever only lasted for 7 years. When my parents found me and rushed me to the hospital, the doctor told them, 'The patient's stomach isn't in very good condition.' My mom asked anxiously, 'Is there anything you can do? Please, just make him better.' The doctor replied, 'Let's have him stay for observation first.' When Clara finally arrived at the hospital, I was lying in a bed, and my parents kept sending her away every time she tried to come into my room. 3 days later, I was feeling a bit better. Clara had been waiting outside my door every single day. "Mom, let her in," I said. "We need to talk." She entered hesitantly. "Leo, how are you feeling? Are you any better? You need to take care of yourself." Clara's voice was hoarse and shaky. She reached out a hand but didn't dare to touch me. "Do we have a future?" I asked her directly. "Where were you when I called you from the bottom of the stairs?" Clara's face went pale, losing all its usual composure. "I was thinking about giving you another chance," I continued. "After all, the world is full of temptations, and you didn't really do anything wrong. But when I needed you the most, where were you?" "Leo, I really don't know. I didn't mean to. I know nothing I can say will help now. I'm so sorry." Clara raised her hand and slapped herself hard across the face, crying miserably. "I'd rather be the one who got hurt." "Fine then," I said coldly. "Go ahead and die." She looked up at me in disbelief. "Do you think this physical pain compares to the pain I feel inside?" She looked at me and saw the absolute resoluteness and despair in my eyes. Finally, with reddened eyes, she asked sorrowfully, "Do you really want a divorce?" "Yes." "Fine," she whispered. "I agree. I know it's all my fault. I'll agree to the divorce, hoping you'll be happier without me. But I'm not giving up on you." After she left, my mom held my hand, comforting me. "Don't be afraid. Everything will pass." Mark came to visit me in the hospital, sighing as he sat down. "I never expected Clara to be like that. I don't think I'll ever believe in love again." Mark had a bad experience with a previous girlfriend who had cheated on him and taken all his money. I had managed to help him get it back by dealing with the guy she left him for. Later, a nurse told me I needed to go for a checkup, and Mark volunteered to walk with me. On our way, he stopped. "Isn't that someone's girlfriend?" he muttered, walking up to a woman ahead of us. I wondered which familiar face he had seen. "Hey, you! Can't you keep an eye on your girlfriend?" Mark tapped the woman on the shoulder. When she turned around, I recognized her. It was from a night I went to a bar to drink, feeling completely miserable and trying to forget my pain. I had nearly gotten into trouble, but this beautiful woman in a white dress had intervened, chasing away the guys who were trying to pick a fight with me. "Don't ever drink anything that's been left out of your sight," she'd advised. "First time here? Want to have a drink with me?" I was drunk and slow to react, but my instincts told me to shake my head no. She smiled. "Well, you should head home early. This place isn't for you." Later, I ran into her again outside the bar. She offered to drive me home, and in a reckless moment fueled by alcohol and spite, I got in her car. I got home safely, and though I was nervous when I woke up hungover, nothing had happened. It turned out she was the woman people thought was Evan's girlfriend. "Can't you mind your boyfriend?" Mark was saying to her. "He shouldn't be eating from one bowl while eyeing another, especially when it comes to married women. You look like a perfectly fine person, so why can't you keep your boyfriend in line?" The woman, whose name I would learn was Chloe, looked utterly confused. "Who are you calling my boyfriend? You're making no sense. I'm single, and please don't just call me Hey. My name's Chloe." Mark put his hands on his hips. "So, Evan isn't your boyfriend? Can't admit it? Didn't you drive him to work in your sports car?" Chloe thought for a moment. "Oh, him. He's the grandson of one of my grandfather's old friends from the countryside. He visited us once, and my grandpa asked me to give him a ride to work." Finally, Chloe declared seriously, "I have nothing to do with Evan. He's not my type at all." This Evan kid was more pretentious than I thought. No wonder he had been so evasive when people asked about his life. He was just lying. Soon after I was discharged, Clara and I finalized the divorce. There were no disputes over our assets. Feeling consumed by guilt, Clara gave me the majority of everything, including 15% of her company's shares. I immediately turned around and sold those shares to her company's biggest rival. Unexpectedly, Evan came to see me a few days later. "Clara has been so good to you," he said, his tone accusatory. How could you stab her in the back like that? I knew Clara had her reasons for giving me those shares, but it didn't make sense for me to turn down the money. I just laughed. This is between her and me. Who are you to interfere? He said self-righteously. You have no idea how busy Clara has been dealing with the fallout from this. I couldn't understand why Evan was doing this. Maybe it was to leave a good impression on Clara, so he could claim he had tried to get us back together. He was trying to paint himself as a steadfast, innocent party. You say I misunderstood. What exactly did I misunderstand? What kind of employee calls their boss on Christmas Eve saying they're scared to work late? What kind of employee hand-feeds their boss? We've both been well-educated. Why can other people maintain professional boundaries when you can't? Evan, you can't have it all and still pretend to be the victim. I had thought the main problem between Clara and me was her indecisiveness, but now I could see that the two of them suited each other perfectly. Honestly, I wish you two the best. I get the money, you get the girl, but a person should know their place. If you want something, work for it. Don't just scheme to get things for free. And do you really think Clara will ever truly love you? Also, tell her to stop coming around my parents' house. It's really annoying. I stood up, ready to leave. Evan must have heard the sarcasm in my voice because he dropped his innocent act. You are so cruel. Losing your kid is just karma. I froze. When you called her that day, he sneered, she was taking me to the hospital. I saw the hesitation on her face when her phone rang, just as she was about to answer it. So I groaned in pain and told her how much my ankle hurt. You see, as soon as I said that, she hung up on your call. So, who do you think weighs more in her heart? I had been feeling pretty good lately, like I was successfully cutting my losses and moving on. But when someone peels back the scars you've deliberately tried to hide, the wound still hurts. I turned back and slapped him hard across the face. Didn't you just say I was cruel? Then you should be smart enough not to piss me off. Evan covered his cheek, a wronged look on his face. I'm not. I didn't. And just like that, Clara appeared. She hurried over, and Evan, covering his face, looked like he was on the verge of tears. Clara, I just wanted to clear things up with Leo. We're completely innocent. But she brushed right past him and stood in front of me, her expression tense. Leo, can we talk? I knew Evan had called her here. It was all a performance to make him look innocent and me look vicious. Fine. You got what you wanted, Clara. Keep an eye on your boy. As long as he doesn't bother me, I won't cause him any trouble. I'm leaving now. Feel free to chat all you want. That's not what I meant, she said, forcing a bitter smile. I didn't know he was going to come find you. Leo, do you feel better now? If this isn't enough, I'll give you the whole company. Clara, that's all your hard work from all these years, Evan said anxiously. She turned to him. Evan, I'm sorry on behalf of Leo, but this is between Leo and me. It doesn't matter what happened in the past or what happens in the future. The only person I love is Leo. I didn't expect to see someone get shot down so quickly and publicly. But Clara, Evan sputtered, you let me get close to you. You like me. If you didn't like me, why did you buy me that expensive watch? If you didn't like me, why did you give me a ride on Christmas? If you didn't like me, why were you so anxious when you thought I got hurt? He looked completely heartbroken. If anything I did before made you misunderstand my intentions, I apologize, Clara said, looking deeply uncomfortable. Just then, someone laughed. It was Chloe. Sorry, she said, walking over. I just happened to be having a conversation nearby. Evan, didn't you text me yesterday saying your shower head was broken? Sorry, I didn't see the message until today. Is it fixed? If not, I can come over and take a look. Evan looked mortified to see her there. Why is your face so red? She asked innocently. I saw the photo you sent yesterday. You were wearing so little and you got all wet. Did you catch a cold? Evan's face turned from red to white. Clara was stunned. So this was the pure, strong, independent young man she saw in her eyes. That evening, a mutual friend called me. Clara's drunk at a bar and keeps saying she wants to find you. We can't stop her. Can you please come over? I replied calmly. I'm sorry, but Clara and I are already divorced. Her issues are no longer my concern. The friend persisted. Leo, we've all seen how Clara treated you over the years. She gave you everything. If you wanted the stars, she would have found a way to get them for you. She worked herself to the bone outside, all for you. Yes, what she did was her fault this time, but seeing her like this, how can you be so heartless? In our friend's eyes, it seemed like Clara was always the one who gave more in our relationship. She was the one working hard, while I had it easy, living a comfortable life. But they forget that during her company's startup phase, it was me and my team working day and night to build her company's entire data system. I continued to maintain and upgrade it for years. I love mathematics, and once dreamed of exploring it at a deeper level, but after we got married, I chose a laid-back job so that she would always come home to a warm meal. There was always a light on, waiting for her, no matter how late she worked. A stable relationship is never about one-sided giving. Professor Davis got sick and was hospitalized. I went to visit her. Clara was there too. I hadn't seen her in a while, and she looked thinner, almost defeated. I addressed her mother using my old title. Professor, are you feeling any better? Just an old illness, she said. Thank you for visiting. Clara has been such a disappointment, she sighed. While Clara and I were going through the divorce, the professor had tried to patch things up between us, but after my own hospitalization, she had slapped Clara. Still, she was Clara's mother, and our relationship had inevitably drifted apart. Don't mention it. You'll always be my teacher. Please take care of your health. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. After chatting with the professor for a while, I got up to leave. As I walked out, Clara leaned against the doorframe. I'll walk you out. We walked in silence, much like we used to many years ago on our way back to my dorm. Sometimes we'd chat, but often we were quiet. Back then, the silence was comfortable and happy. I looked down, searching for our shadows on the ground. One long, one short, sticking close together. I hailed a cab. I'll drive you, Clara offered. Let's end this here, I said seriously. I haven't been able to sleep lately. Every time I close my eyes, our memories flash before me. I don't know how I got so lost. The house feels cold and empty without you. I only feel at peace when you're there. How did I manage to lose you? Clara's voice was controlled, but the way her fingers nervously rubbed the fabric of her pants betrayed her anxiety. She had been having a hard time. Sometimes late at night, I would see a long shadow lingering under the dim streetlight downstairs. Occasionally, I'd get calls from an unknown number. It was likely Clara, having had a bit too much to drink, mumbling, "Honey, I feel so bad. Come and get me." I would always hang up, but it affected my sleep. I'm not doing great either. 7 years of our lives, our shared memories, they torture my heart. Clara gave me a beautiful dream called true love, and then she was the one who burst the bubble herself. I tell myself I'm fine, that she's not worth it. But late at night when I'm alone, the pain is still there. Michael, I regret it so much, she whispered. I really didn't have feelings for anyone else. Clara, I cut her off. No, you wavered. Now you're just feeling guilty. I told you at our wedding, if you ever fell for someone else, I would walk away without hesitation. If we tried to keep going, this issue would never fade away. Every little disagreement in our marriage would get blown out of proportion. I'd always hold a grudge about your past betrayal. And you'd get sick of my relentless questioning. Could we ever be happy like that? Let's end it here. Don't make me hate you. 3 months later, my application was approved. I went abroad to pursue my PhD, finally diving deeper into mathematics, which had been a lifelong dream of mine. A project I led during my studies caught the attention of a major tech company back home. After graduating, I joined the H Group. My boss, Isabella, was poised and courteous, carrying herself more like a scholar than a businesswoman. We didn't interact much outside of meetings and presentations. At work, my new colleagues would gossip now and then. I heard that CEO from that other tech firm is still single. What kind of guy could ever win her over? I heard she was married once, but she's been divorced for years now. Does she still miss her ex? Or what do you think really happened?" The chatter was endless. Everyone has a story, don't they? One night, after working late, it started pouring rain just as I was stepping outside. I was feeling a bit down when a car pulled up beside me, and the door swung open. "Leo, do you need a ride?" It was Isabella. I was about to politely decline, but she insisted. "It's on my way, really." Her words were thoughtful, but not overbearing, and it was hard to find a reason to refuse. Eventually, Isabella and I got married. Our relationship felt more like a partnership. Sometimes we would share stories of our past failed marriages. After weighing the pros and cons, we decided to forge a new path forward together. 2 years later, our company went public, and we rang the bell on NASDAQ. After we got married, we had a daughter named Sophie. When she was 4 years old, we went back home for a visit. I had kept in touch with Mark over the years, and I learned that he had ended up with Chloe. He told me that Clara's company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Back when I was choosing a partner for my research project, many companies had wanted to collaborate, including Clara's. In the end, I chose to go with someone else. Her company was a direct competitor, and when she was unable to work with me, she spent a massive amount of money to buy another research outcome, signing a tough deal with a venture capital firm to try and grab the market. I wasn't sure what she was trying to prove, but my only thoughts on her business strategy were that it was impulsive, aggressive, and reckless. In the end, she lost everything. One day I was out at a park with Sophie, and she suddenly disappeared. Scared out of my mind, I was about to call Isabella when my daughter came running back to me. "I saw balloons over there, and I just went after them, Daddy. I'm sorry." "A lady brought me back," Sophie said, pointing a little way off. The lady was already gone. "She was so nice, and she even bought me ice cream." "Sophie, didn't Daddy tell you not to take things from strangers?" I scolded. "But, Daddy, she was so pretty. She didn't look like a bad person. She chatted and played with me. I asked her if she had a daughter, too, but she just smiled and didn't say anything." Seeing how angry I was, Sophie wrapped her chunky little arms around my neck, trying to soften me up. Daddy, I promise I won't talk to strangers again." I glanced into the distance and thought I saw a familiar silhouette, but I shook my head, telling myself that time has blurred my memory. As we were about to head home, Isabella strode up and hugged us both tightly. "Weren't you away on a business trip?" I asked, surprised. She was supposed to be working on an important project that was our company's main focus for the next few months. "I heard you were missing, so I rushed back midway through my trip," she said, looking at Sophie. "I won't do it again, Mommy. I love you, and I love Daddy, too." "Daddy loves you too, sweetie," I said. "And I love you guys, too," Isabella said, looking back and forth between us with a warm smile. I hugged my daughter tightly, feeling an unprecedented sense of peace and happiness. We were a happy family,